Hey everyone, I'm Peter from Argo Blockchain. I'm super excited to be talking today with Henry Quan from ePIC. ePIC, as you guys know or may not know, is an important partner of Argo's. They're building some of our future machines, and Henry's been a pioneer across several different types of the technology industry, but pretty much everything to do with semiconductors. So Henry, nice to chat.
Nice being here, Peter.
So Henry, just tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, when you think about cryptocurrency and blockchain, you think about 20-year-olds in their basement mining, with GPUs, or you think about Chinese manufacturers building ASICs. You don't necessarily think of someone with your kind of breadth of experience in the technology industry, in the blockchain industry.
Right.
Why did you get into blockchain, and what drew you to building cryptocurrency mining machines?
Well, I've always wanted to get back in ASIC business. I was with ATI and AMD, and we helped build an industry from nothing to this new generation devices. We built the best-selling GPUs for mining. We built the best GPUs for, AI. We built the best GPUs for gaming. And so, after we got bought by AMD, I wanted to go back to startup, and it took me 10 years to find an opportunity where I could say, hey, I can build a product that makes a difference in the world. Here I am at ePIC Blockchain, building what will be the best ASICs, in mining.
So let's go back to ATI and go back to those early days of technology just for a minute before we talk about what you're doing now. What was it like back then? What was it like kind of in the early days of semiconductors and innovation, and what were the problems you're trying to solve, and how are they related to today or not related, as the case may be?
It's all the same fundamental problems, right? It's how do you apply technology to make the industry better? And we can define better as a bunch of different ways. In technology, we typically say faster, cheaper, more. So we did that in graphics, and we're doing that in crypto. Back then, we used to say, when Windows came out, Windows, right? It was DOZE to run Windows. It was really slow. So we built
Right.
Windows accelerators to make Windows run fast. And after we solved that problem, we say, how do you make gaming better on PCs? So we applied the concept of graphic acceleration to PCs, and we made the PC better than the console. Companies like Sega used to laugh at us when we went and we could say, we're going to set the world on fire with PCs. But it's flipped around. And what was interesting is that Microsoft and Sony actually ended up buying graphics from ATI and AMD for their consoles. So we went from the laughing stock to becoming their key technology supplier and the key differentiator.
Amazing. So how is that connected to today? So today we've got, a couple big names. Everyone obviously knows the name in mining, Bitmain. Then you've got other folks like MicroBT and Silicon, some of these big mining firms out of China. How is ePIC, this little Canadian startup, how are you able to compete? And, what's your strategy to compete with some of these big Chinese players?
Well, there's a couple of things. So Sun Tzu says, flank thy enemy. Right? When you're trying to grow a business, when you're trying to attack a market, never take them head on. You go around them. So we focused on altcoins, right? We basically build our beachhead on altcoins, build a strong company, and then we're going to go after Bitcoin. So, that's kind of the growth strategy on the company. Think of us as Navy SEALs. So, we got the best people. So we handpicked the best people from ATI and AMD to join us. Jim Cito, who I brought on board, went to work for Qualcomm. He ran 6 billion, that's with a B, billion ASICs a year. He knows the entire supply chain. I mean, he knows executives, he knows what technology to build, and he knows how to get products ramping to high volume. Earl Mai, our CTO, he helped build PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Next, and he built some of the best-selling GPUs in Ethereum mining. So right away, the resume says that we have the crack troops from the Navy SEALs that can get in there and build the best crypto ASICs. And, of course, you got me. And, I specialize in the sales and marketing side of it. And
making
some great people underneath there.
And making sure the team all works together.
Yeah, exactly.
So why Canada? Why are you based in Canada? How do you like kind of running things out of Toronto?
Well, it's great because, we got snow 11 months of the year. We chain people to their desks and they just keep building graphics. I had the same problem. So, it's funny you asked this question because I had the same questions in the 90s when we were starting to dominate the graphics business. I said, Canada, you guys can build chips up there? And I gave them the same thing. But Canada's this untapped talent. We got the proximity of, my old alumni at ATI and AMD. So we think we're some of the best ASIC designers in the world. Canada has that skill set and our people tend to be more loyal and we tend to be more frugal and in our approach, right? So it's more conducive to building a startup that way when, not everyone's driving Ferraris or have the big, mega attitudes in Silicon Valley that, tend to dominate the ASIC business.
I mean, our CTO Perry, you've talked with him a bunch of times, and I agree. I think that there's something about the kind of Canadian approach to technology that's maybe a little bit different than some other nationalities. Perry, obviously,
that's why we're thrilled to work with you, right? Just two Canadian companies building from the ground up, and we got the right attitude. We don't have these big corporate decision-making processes, so we're both very agile. The thinking of the companies is great in that respect, and we can point and shoot. Right?
Agreed. Yeah, we're trying to be as less bureaucratic as possible, as least bureaucratic as possible. And Perry's obviously been super impressed with Jim's knowledge of semiconductors and all of the supply chain experience that he has, in Asia. And then Earl, I mean, we think of Perry as a genius. But Earl might even surpass Perry's geniosity in some regards. Just tell me about what it's like to work with someone like Earl.
Well, so Earl's initials are EM. We call him the Emperor. So, fundamentally, he is we have characters of him, with his hands out with electric rays, stunning Darth Vader. So, Earl basically is boy genius. He takes a very different approach to solving the problem. And, it's clean slate and we don't have this traditional rigor boundaries that a typical ASIC company would have. So, in a lot of our design, we're basically saying, here's what needed to be solved. The Grin chip, for instance, was one where when we announced the spec on it, people went, wow, we didn't think that was possible in single chip. Well, our competitors, the one that starts with an I, basically said that can't be done. Unfortunately, the Grin chip never got the funding because the blockchain never really took off. But that innovation that we developed for Grin moves forward and we apply it to different chips. So, our motto in terms of building products for success is crawl, walk, run. Today, we're building infrastructure, in line for our next level of innovation. So our products are like Lego blocks, and we reassemble the Lego blocks as we build bigger and bigger products.
And why are your designs different? Or why are Earl's designs different? Why are ePIC's designs different? How come you're able to come up with your own designs?
You have to have your own designs if you're going to succeed and become a long-term semiconductor player. I'd say that our designs are different because we picked the right spot in the market. We don't follow the masses and say, the direction is north, everyone's going to head there. That's a lemmings approach. You've seen that happen in Bitcoin. If you Google Bitcoin Wiki, you'll see 50 tombstones along the way of people that didn't make it. Right. And even arguably in today's day and age, people aren't making it for that very reason. They're following the leader. So you got to do things differently. What we do is we innovate on architecture rather than process. All the Bitcoin ASICs are innovating on process. We're innovating on architecture. And fundamentally, when we intersect the Bitcoin, then we're going to bring both approaches together. So we got to build a solid company on altcoins, have the architecture and technology portfolio under our belt, and be able to give you, Argo, the breadth of products you need, not just to be a one-trick pony.
And what's just in terms of the global situation now? Obviously, there's been a huge discussion happening for the last 6 months about this chip shortage, about getting access into foundries. Right. First, what's the situation that you're seeing on the ground with the chip shortage? And then secondly, how does ePIC deal with that? How are you able to navigate in that environment?
Okay, so there is a shortage. Everyone knows that. It's how you navigate the shortages and what you do be smart about, dealing with the shortages. So we're not on the leading node processes that everyone's fighting for. So if you're on 5 and 7 nanometer, you're in big trouble, right? Apple, Qualcomm have the bulk of the 5. All these Bitcoin miners that are supposed to be 5 nanometer are not going to get product. On 7, all the high performance PC products are ramping on 7, so 7 nanometers short supply. You see on AMD, PlayStation CPUs, AMD CPUs, AMD GPUs, you can't get them because they're all fighting for that market. The top 9 customers that TSMC have 85% of the business. So what we do is we play smart and we go to what's called the N-1 process, so last generation's process, and we innovate on that in order to, to build better product. Those products are in less demand. We do forecasts. We do have to, and from that standpoint, we get products into production. Obviously, we're not the huge market players, so our volumes aren't, as catastrophic, aren't, that demanding on TSMC. And then lastly, it's about your relationships. So, the people that like you or understand your business and want to grow with you will supply you to make sure that you counterbalance. Basically, you balance the leaders, and eventually, through their investment in you, they know that you're going to be one of their top customers over time. That's how strategic suppliers lead their business, and that's how we work with our strategic suppliers.
And when you're building an ASIC from scratch, like for people who have never built an ASIC from scratch, what are other than the architecture, the chip architecture, what are the other things that you need to kind of keep into consideration? What's top of mind?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things top of mind, right? So in traditional design, you'd have pick 2 or 3. So your ASIC design typically you basically have a trade-off between power, performance, and area being size and cost, right? And the traditional triangle model that says basically pick 2 of the 3 axes. We try and pick all 3, but obviously you can't do that. So we try and optimize. Think of ourselves when we're designing ASIC as name that tune. So in name that tune, you can say I can do it in three notes, or I could do it in 2 notes. So we try and minimize the performance, the things required to get the best performance. And we do a lot of iteration in the product, so we get it right the first time. Think of the ASIC really is a software product. We design it in software, and then we synthesize, and we keep doing synthesis. We keep doing tweaks on the architecture, so we get to the best combination of power, performance, and area. And that takes time, obviously. It's a very specialized skill set.
And most of that design work is all done in Canada before even you do, what they call the mask out. Like that's like early on.
Yeah. So our design is 100% Canada. We will expand to the rest of the world. So right now we've hired people in China to help manage the supply chain. We're going to hire people in Taiwan, to work closer with the foundries. And we'll probably end up hiring a couple of developers in the US as well. But, right now our dev is in Canada.
And what kind of demand have you had in terms of, miners? Obviously we have Argo and ePIC have a deal, which we're really excited about. What other kind of demand are you getting? I mean, mining has been, going through a bit of a boom phase so far, to say the least, in 2021. What's it been like on the sales side?
It's insane. If you look at our website, we'll say sold out until December. Back when we started this, back when you and I started talking, earlier in the year, we had availability in April. So, demand is scheduled out that way. We're not really taking on any new customers at this point as well, although, we are entertaining customers for, December onwards.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such a boom cycle right now.
Right. But we value our customer relationships. So, we have a strategic relationship. I'm going to supply you first over a new customer.
Well, we're glad about that. We're happy about that. In terms of
travelers, we got to succeed together.
That's it.
It's long-term business. This is our background in PC. So, we used to deal with Apple, Dell, HP, and we'd have long-term commitments in place. That was the real basis. to long-term success. You look to see what happened in the PC business. We saw consolidation of the business. We saw the leaders dominate, and we saw strategic relationships form. The mining business will be exactly the same. So we need to partner with the right people for that future growth. You've got these big data centers coming in. We have the silicon and rigs for you to occupy those data centers. And together we're going to grow and be more successful together.
It's a good point, and because you've seen these cycles in technology before, you've seen the kind of industry grow out of nothing into something huge, right. And you've done it with ATI, where it went from like a startup to getting sold to AMD, which is obviously a big deal.
For billions, right?
Right. So what are the similarities and what are the differences that you're seeing right now in the crypto space versus other technologies, cycles of earlier times?
I think that crypto is more of a Wild West, just like PCs was a Wild West. So the industry will go from being a Wild West to a more professional, type business. What the big advantage we see in crypto is that we don't have the boundaries of traditional to innovation. So in PC space, we had this thing where we had this big industry we had to bring together. So for me to bring in gaming, for instance, I had to get Microsoft on side to get Windows to support an API for providing 3D acceleration or graphic acceleration. I had to get Intel on side with new bus architectures. I had to get customers on side to do this. And so we need to bring a lot of different things together. In crypto, I can move much faster because it is the blockchain and myself and my customer, right? My customer doesn't care as much. They should, but they care more about when am I going to get the product. So I'm going to change that by giving them better product at the lower cost of ownership, right? So things that last in the time. In terms of the innovation, I can work with the blockchain and just deliver to the market. I don't need to bring all these big players together. So, whereas it would take, if you look at AI, it would take 3 years to bring a product to market. In crypto, I can bring a product to market in under a year.
Right. Yeah. Different. So yeah, significant difference there.
Right.
Obviously, the machines that you guys are building are securing the network for, various altcoins, all using the proof of work consensus mechanism. There's been lots of talk about proof of stake gaining power. It's obviously a big debate in the crypto world. What's more secure? Do you have any feelings on proof of work versus proof of stake?
How long is your cord limit? We love proof of work. So, we're compute guys. So basically proof of work is going to be lots of compute, right? We believe that the current thinking on proof of work being a power hog is totally is wrong, right? The proof of work actually goes to mitigate gas emissions, right? So all the stuff you're working in Texas, that's all green. Otherwise that spent gas will be pumped into energy. Even if you burn off the gas without, you still get 50% of it dumped into the air. So, your gas, all your gas work is going to help get America and the world to is net zero emissions. So kudos to you for that. We're a resistor. We're going to turn that gas and that excess energy into money, crypto. And your shareholders and our shareholders are going to massively profit from the work that we're doing, and we're being green in the process. So so that's the altruistic message. My unaltruistic message is we know how to build compute devices. We did that at ATI and AMD. We're going to do the same thing in crypto. So that's why we like it. Proof of stake. We hate proof of stake because it centralizes the world. You're gonna, the leading coin on going to proof of work is Ethereum. Ethereum is going to change from being a decentralized coin to this coin that is controlled by a few players. And what you'll see is, I think you'll see the evil part of Wall Street come out, Wall Street of the 90s. I won't name the people doing the staking, but it's very easy for them to front run because they've got supply. They can manipulate prices because they can basically do internal trading or wash trading themselves. So this goes against the thesis of blockchain Yes, you'd centralize it in a few large players, and they're just going to get wealthier and wealthier trading your coins, or taking the returns on staking. And finally, this lack of supply is has a benefit for people that are going to hold, but fundamentally it's just bad for smart contracts as well. Your smart contracts will settle higher prices. Trades won't happen as well, and you've got this more insecure architecture as well. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens during sharding, because that's going to be the sharding's going to run in software, and that's going to make Ethereum very insecure. You're going to split it into 4 shards and run it in software, and really you need a piece of hardware to do sharding, which is ironic, right? You need an ASIC to secure the new proof of stake chain.
Yeah, kind of counterintuitive.
Right. Yeah. So if I wasn't clear, proof of stake is evil, right? Centralizes the business.
That's a strong take, Henry.
Well, you know me, I don't hold.
But there is something that's and maybe you can say a little bit more about this, but there's been lots of discussions lately about the value of proof of work, because it's come under attack from a lot of different perspectives lately. And my feeling about proof of work is that the other thing that's not only is it anchored in compute power, but that compute power then is anchored in a location where you're running the machines. So there's things that are connected to that location, whether it's buildings or jobs or whatever, governments. It's anchored in the capital that you've used to buy and purchase those machines, that you built your company with, or you sold equity to get, or however you've gotten it. And so it's much more anchored in a community, a global community of capital, than proof of stake, which is, like you said, it's essentially one person or a series of people that are kind of whales that are able to park there.
Exactly. Yeah, it's heavily decentralized. I would just allude this to traditional mining. Let's look at DeBoers or Exxon. They're not classic mining, but they are their whole supply chain in natural resources. So DeBoers and Exxon are huge organizations, right? You've got they help sponsor the infrastructure that builds the mining rigs. You've got people in the local economy, on site in the mining fields. You've got people in refining, you've got people in distribution, you got people in marketing, you got people in gas stations, and you got transport companies. So you look at this is the ecosystem has huge dollars attached to it when you aggregate them together.
Right.
Proof of stake, it's all going to go back to the stakers, and the stakers are all going to be Wall Street, traditional financial institutions that know how to make money for themselves.
Right. The rich get richer in proof of stake, essentially. One of the things about cryptocurrency mining, that's super important, and Perry talks about this a lot, and I know you guys have had discussions about this, is efficiency, making sure that your machines are as efficient as possible. And we've seen over the last few technology cycles, in the Bitcoin, in the SHA-256 world, for instance, the S9 to the S19, the jump in efficiency has been like a 5 or 6x more efficient. How does ePIC look and think about efficiency, and how are you making sure that you're building efficient mining rigs?
Well, we do both, right? So we're going to build efficient mining rigs, we're going to build inefficient mining rigs. I think the way we look at it is we're going to give shareholders the best return for the dollar. So efficiency is important, but it's not always the right thing to do. So in today's world, 5 nanometers is probably one of the best ways to get efficiency, but 5 nanometers is probably the worst return to the shareholders, because you can't get product, right? And it costs a lot to do. So, we would build on a different process if we were targeting that marketplace. Ultimately, we deliver the architecture, and the architecture is what's going to set the best return on CapEx. That's what, I look at it that way, is when you run your mining business, Peter, is we want to give you the maximum hash rate per dollar.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your CapEx. That's going to set your return, right? And then the OpEx is going to be what your efficiency on power is going to be. So, for instance, in our miner that we produce today, I can make the product more efficient, but it's going to cost 3 times as much.
Right.
And I think our customers basically said, we rather take the better CapEx because you're going to get more return on your CapEx than your, than on efficiency. So we'll do both. And, it's really this trade-off. It's where do you want to tug the balloon? And ultimately that's a decision that I want to work with you on to say, what, Peter, do you want better efficiency or do you want better return on CapEx?
Right. So it's like how energy efficient do you want to make the car? If you're going to make it, run off of whatever, a liter per 100 kilometers, that's fine, but it's going to cost $1 million. Whereas you can make it run off $3 or $4 or whatever, 3 or 4 liters per 100 kilometers, but it's more reasonable. So you're not, it's a balance between how much gas or how much power you're putting in,
right,
and what you're paying.
Right. So this is where you and Seb will trump Perry.
Right.
I want the financial metrics. The technology is cool, but give me the financial metrics.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Is there anything I haven't covered, Henry, that you want to talk about that you think is relevant for this particular discussion?
Oh, there's so much to talk about. What did Joe Biden say? Watch me. Like we want to be the world leader in blockchain. So, we're thrilled to be working with Argo, that we are co-invested in us, partnership to move forward. Ultimately, our business isn't just crypto. It is to power the enterprise blockchains of the world. So, as we started this conversation, I said that our value add is compute. So, we view blockchain as essential technology to power the blockchain economy. And the blockchain economy, we believe, incorporates enterprise, of which the financial institutions, which I just lagged heavily in proof of stake, is going to be, the real drivers in that market. That is a $21 billion industry in 2023. And we want to build those ASICs that power the data centers. So, we want to be with Argo as you transition, your business from just crypto to, more of an enterprise focus, or even a balanced product that has multiple types of processing in your data centers. So that's why I said, like Biden, I say, watch us. Sorry.
Awesome. It's exciting times for sure.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's just knowing what I know now. I rather upset at myself for not jumping in and doing crypto ASICs earlier.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, we have this thing in the crypto world where it's like crypto years is like dog years, right? So like 1 year in crypto is like 7 years in real life. So, in theory, you're in this now for at least 15, 20 years already in crypto years. So that counts for a lot.
Yeah, look at my gray hair already. I joined in 2018 during the crypto crash, and then we're trying to fundraise in 2020. So, two of the toughest times to do fundraising.
Yeah. Oh, well, I know the future is bright for ePIC. We're excited to be working with you guys. We're excited to get, those machines up and running. And it's great chatting with you, Henry.
Well, thank you for your confidence. We're great to be your partner, and we look forward to doing great things together.
Awesome.